Hi, everybody, and welcome to ASQ Canada Camp Career and Mentorship Program. My name is Dr. Michael Janowick, and I'm DRD and leader of career development camp activities. We have on the call Chaitanya, and Chaitanya is leading portion related to mentorship. And Zvezdana is ASQ Toronto program chair. She's joining us for this event as well. I have an excuse from Natella, who is our regional director. She is tied up with some business-related activities, but she sent her regards to group. Over the next couple months, we'll run webinars by senior ASQ members and leaders who will share their perspectives and know how to manage career growth. So this is the first webinar that we run. Are you ready for this? Yes, thumbs up. Thumbs up. Desmond, thumbs up. Ready? Good.
Yeah, let's go.
Okay. Our first speaker is Desmond Modeo, and he has served the industry across many sectors, from manufacturing, distribution to service sector, spanning his entire career, holding many senior positions and providing management consulting across different countries. He has volunteered with ASQ Toronto section for most of his ASQ membership over 25 years, holding chair position, section chair, and he is currently deputy regional director for ASQ Canada, work on special project. He is a member of ISO Technical Committee, TC279, WG1, and WG3 for the Innovation Management Standards and Strategic Intelligence. He is as well expert in innovation development, and he contribute to innovation management standard ISO 56001. On national level, Desmond is Canadian Standards Association committee member and served as a technical expert for the recent Canadian National Standard for Innovation Management. Without further ado, I'm just going to pass now screen to Desmond, who is going to present his webinar, Your Own Brand. Desmond, welcome.
Yeah, can you see my screen, Mike? I think you took the screen away.
Yes.
Let me just go back into it. Screen share. It's not sharing. Let me stop share. Let's try it again.
You were sharing.
I am sharing?
You were sharing. Now you stop sharing.
Oh. So how do I get back to sharing again? Share screen. Yeah. Is it shared now?
No.
Now?
Now it's sharing. Okay, go ahead.
All right, sorry for that. As usual, we always have some kind of technical difficulties at the start of these things. We do have a lunchtime. I call these a kind of a lunch and learn session. So thank you, Mike. And as Mike mentioned, this entire thing is part of what we call the CAMP or CNMP or Career and Mentorship Initiative that was led by Chaitanya Baliga, Michael, myself, and a few other DRDs, as well as the regional director. The aim is really to provide some sort of value and support to our members. There, it's mentioned about several speakers, so I'm the first one that's going to be on this list, and this is of two-part series. The next one I'm going to be doing is more specifically on use of social media to leverage your brand. So let's dig right into it. So before I start, when we discussed this in late March, I went back into my archives and said, let me see what I have in my archives. And then I found that exactly 12 years ago in 2012, I actually had this presentation, which I had presented at one of our breakfast meetings way back then. And so I took it out, I brushed it off, I looked at it, I looked at what I said then, and I compared it to where I am now in life. And of course, there was some updates that needed to be done. But it's good to see continuity and looking at things in retrospect. So sometimes it's good to save things. I would like to go through some acknowledgments here. First of all, I'm by no means an expert. My background is in mechanical engineering and quality management systems, and I've done a lot of systems work, systems thinking. That's where I use my brand, as it were, in terms of participation on the international level with the ISO and at the national level with CSA, looking at systems thinking, so in the development of standards. Now, no copyright infringement is intended here. Images are taken from the web, in most cases from the free pics sites. Some licenses are not available, and information in this presentation is taken from the general public domain, whether it's in books, whether it's in journals, etc. Now, in today's world, we have so much readily available information from where I was studying way back when. I mean, we've got right on top of the list, we've got these artificial intelligence chat boxes such as ChatGPT, OpenAI, etc. And these things are really wonderful tools, and the way in which they can give you information is unbelievable. Then there's search engines, which have developed over the last 20, 25, 26 years from when I've started using them. And they are also very finite, depending on what you ask and get so much information. Online forums, it's there. You can download articles, there are journals, you can participate. Access to networks, professional societies like the American Society for Quality, and then there's sites such as ResearchGate, the old Ellesmere Cove, etc. There's and many others, and of course, we have the good old books. My favorites, and I see Mike has a huge library always in the back, and I tease him about the amount of books that he has. But I guess we're old timers. My point here is there's a lot of proliferation of ideas, and you do something like personal branding, you can get lots of information, books and information on this thing. So when I'm doing a webinar such as this, you may find things that are controversial, different takes on the subject. So I want to take the approach of sharing with you what I learned from experiential learning over the years. And as I said, I'm not an expert. And hopefully, with all the iterative practice and failures that I've had, I can perhaps influence you and hopefully make some small difference, because that is what this is all about, to give you information and to use that to be able to encourage you and influence you and give you something, a different insight into a subject area. So let's look at what it is I'm going to be doing today. I'm going to keep a close eye on the clock. I want to get out everything wrapped up from 12:50, and then we can have a little Q&A interaction. We will be using the chat for some close-ended questions, just to have a kind of interaction with myself and the audience. It won't just be simple yes, no. I wanted to use dedicated polling, but then that would kind of distract from it, and sometimes we have technical difficulties as well, and I don't want to give anybody indigestion over lunch as well. So what I would have preferred was a nice open discussion, interactive, but again, because of time limitations, I won't be able to do that. So what I want to do here today is look at what is this personal branding? Why do we need it? And how can it be beneficial? Some discussions about self-awareness and what elements of one's self contribute to the brand. How can we craft and create this brand? What are some of the steps in a brand development? And then, of course, the next evolution of what happens. So I spoke about Chat GPT, and I went in there and I kept asking it and trying to see what it would give me. And this is what it came up with. And as I looked at it, I said, yeah, there's some things here that resonates with me. Some things I would recognize and I would approve, or I would say, yeah, that's what this is about, and align with based on my experience. And so I have some stuff in bold. And if you look at it, this is what I would say jumped out at me. Shaping and managing how others perceive you, cultivating a distinct and compelling narrative, credible and influential authority in your field, differentiating yourself and creating that memorable, authentic brand identity, strong and favorable impression. So I've highlighted some key touch points here. And if you look at it, I said, let's do a reality check on this. Can you shape and manage how others perceive you? And this is a rhetorical question. I want you to think about it. Can you cultivate a distinct and compelling narrative? Are you able to differentiate yourself from others? Are you able to create a memorable and authentic brand identity that people can recognize you for? And can you leave a strong and favorable impression? So in reviewing this list, for the next 30 seconds or so, please go into the chat and Mike will be monitoring. And what I want you to do is an all or nothing. If you agree or disagree with these statements, just put a yes or a no. So these are the reality check. I want to see where we are in the audience. So for the next 30, 40 seconds, please type in the chat whether you believe in these statements, you think these statements are true, or whether you don't, you have a yes or no answer. So go ahead. Oh, yes or no, guys. No, 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 nothing else. Just yes or no. This is the reason for doing that. So, Mike, we have about 42 persons in the audience. So if you're gauging it, or Chaitanya, if you can look at the chat and help Mike as well, or Dana.
Majority is a yes.
Okay. So we all agree that this is possible. So that's good. And for those, of course, you're entitled to say, your thoughts may be maybe or no. That's quite okay. So let's continue now. So what I like to do, and I mean, I'm not dating myself, but back in the 80s when I used to be partying, this is a very popular song. I'm starting with The Man in the Mirror by Michael Jackson. And so this is it's very apt because this is where we look at ourselves. Only you know who you are. And so when you look at the man in the mirror, you remove all of that facade and all that projections that you have. And this is something that you really need to do. You really need to look at the man in the mirror. Nobody knows you more than you know yourself. So let's start with that. So when we look at branding, or when we look at this whole topic, you have to understand it is who or what you are. This is not something from outside to inside. Who you are to what you are is, or what you are going to represent, there must be congruency. The question is, if what you are is not what is needed, can you change who you are? And what it is that makes you who you are? Is it your paradigms that you have that create who you are? And if it is, then can you change your paradigms? And the question is, can you change your paradigms? So if you change your paradigms, the logic is you will change yourself. So my question to you is, can you change who you are? And I need a yes or no answer to this question. And we're going to take another, 30 seconds or so. The question is, can you change who you are if you need to? And please answer in the chat, yes or no. Hey. How does it look, Mike?
Majority is yes.
Oh, wow. We got a good audience here today. Everybody thinks they can change yourself. Way to go, guys. So, changing is not that easy. I was just over in this screen. Sometimes this thing is so now I'm going to have some freestyle. So we talk about who we are and what elements are responsible for who we are. What are some of those paradigms and where do they come from? And to give you a hint of what I'm looking for is like, think of what makes up you, like your passion or whatever, something like that. And just go ahead, freestyle it. Just write for the next 40 seconds or so. Type as much as you want. What do you think is responsible for who you are? Just go freestyle, and then Mike, you can kind of give some ideas. I'll look at the chat as well here. See. Yeah, I see self-perception, interest, skills, personality, beliefs. Yeah. Keep going. Just freelance it. That there's no right experiences, great nature, nurture, physiology, genes, beliefs, integrity, personality, values, beliefs, people, inner self, awareness, education. All right, so it's 12:18, and we can continue with this. So what I will do is, here are some things that I've chosen to consider, and there's a reason why we look at these: talent, your ideals, your experience, and most of you had pretty much similar things, right? Your passion, your values, your strengths. So did you guys notice something that I didn't put there? I didn't put anything about knowledge and academia. And this is something we're talking about a brand, right? Those things are secondary to this. And again, this is my belief. Most of us have the paradigms where we felt, and lots of people come from different parts of the world, where education and academia was put at the front and the foremost in our lives. And so we felt that capturing that and getting, the degrees and getting everything and becoming an academic is something that would really make us who we are. I'm not disputing that. What I'm saying is those contribute to how we project ourselves. Our values, our strengths, talent, they fall into those buckets. So if we take these things and we put them in a Venn diagram, values, personality, passion, strengths, we will have an intersection. We start to see an intersection in this Venn diagram. And if we look at the left-hand side, who you are is made up of those elements. That is your value proposition, and that becomes your brand. And that is how others will be seeing you. So you may think that you are doing something else, but there is most times a disparity in the way you think you should be seen and how others are seeing you. And if you look at it in the other way, to give you an idea, if we swing this Venn diagram and put it down on the bottom plane, the combination or the net effect is what we call the sweet spot. That is your brand. It's a combination of all these things become your brand. So personal brand, when you're crafting it, personal brand has to be carefully crafted. It's based on those natural strengths, talents, passions, experiences, etc. And that value proposition, that is the sweet spot of your authentic. And the word I'm using is authentic. Why? Because authenticity provides your appeal and key value. You need to be authentic. So when we start to craft and think of this brand, we need to think along these lines. So is branding important? Why do we need to do it? So the reason for this, you want to, and this is not about the self, I'm not trying to preach self-improvement here. What I'm talking about is who you are, you want to brand that. And that brand is what's going to open and attract opportunities that are perfect for you. Because each one of us are unique. Each one of us has something to contribute. So that message has to be able to capture the interest of the people. So it's looking at internally, distilling that look with an attitude and capturing. You know, it's just like what happens when you see a famous product brand. In our life, we have a very short time to make a good impression. And also, after making that impression, we need to make a lasting impression, a lasting relationship based on our interaction that becomes memorable. So my question to the audience here quickly is, can we create a brand for ourselves the way a brand is created for a product? Can we brand ourselves the way a product is branded? I need a yes or no answer. Just give me a yes or no in the chat.
You mind just to repeat the question, Desmond?
The question is, can we create a brand for ourselves the way we create a brand for a product? Or is it different? The answer is yes or no. Very good. I see some people say yes, I'm not sure. Yes. Good.
Everybody, yes.
Okay, so let's move on. The thing is, from my experience, you could create a personal brand that reflects who and what you want to be. I mean, products are designed this way. However, it can also be done. If you guys remember that movie, Miss Congeniality, with Michael Caine and Sandra Bullock, and there was a comedy with a transformation. The problem with trying to create a personal brand that you want to be, you're not a product. It's slightly different. There's a real danger because when you create that perception or that facade and the real you shows up, then the opportunities that you attracted will disappear when you show up authentically as who you are. You will now be seen as confusing and deceitful. So the most important thing here is authenticity. There must be congruence with who you are and what you project. This is very, very important. We do not create a brand that has a projection of what we think we should be. So let's look at the steps. You know, there are some steps that you could use to develop this brand. The step number one is start really hearing and recording. So know yourself. Step number one is know yourself. Who am I? Start really hearing and recording all positive feedback you receive. Specifically, why others value what you do. Which of your skills and talents and personal qualities they find exceptional. If you look at this slide, you will see that I'm saying, why only positive? How many agree we should ask for negative as well? Like, should we ask where you're not doing well, where we should improve? So my question to the audience is, should we ask for negative? Yes or no? See. Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
majority is saying
So
yes.
it seems that everybody agrees. So I will share a little story, a little anecdote here, because it's in the branding, what you're doing, you're asking for positive feedback because you want to know what is you as a product. What are you? What are the value? You remember, it's a value proposition. It's not an improvement. It's not about improving yourself. It's a value proposition. So there's a story about a couple that went to, they went to a psychologist. And when they went to the psychologist, as everything else, we all have some issues sometimes in life. And he says, listen, I want you to go home and I want you to write down 5 things that you find that you really like about each other, and then come back tomorrow. So the couple goes home, they spend a lot of time, they struggle to make the 5 things, the 5 lists, and he came back. And then he said, "This is great. How did it make you feel?" I said, "Yeah, we felt great. This is a good exercise." He says, "Now I want you to go home and come back tomorrow, and I want you to write down 10 things that you don't like about each other." So they went home. In less than 5 minutes, they got that put together. And, I think the fight started at that point. But anyway, they came the next day, and then he asked them, he said, "How did you feel?" And he realized that, it kind of tore them apart, because now they're talking about negative things about each other. The point here is it depends on how your perspective is. When you're looking for positive feedback, what you're going to do is really understand what your value is. This branding is not about a self-improvement. It is, but it isn't. And I'll show you what I mean. You can also explore personality tests, do these psychometric tests. They're all online. Predictive Index, the Hogan, the Leadership, Korn Ferry, Myers-Briggs, my favorite from 25 years ago, DISC. You should also go and look at cognitive biases, personality tests. The thing about it is there's some links here. You can have the links after. You need to be careful. You need to be careful with these psychometric tests, because you are going to write these tests. And again, it's just a snapshot. Now, psychologists, they bet their dollars on these things. Companies do these, like predictive index, etc. When you're going to be employed, they want to know where you stand. So my thing about this is be careful about these. They may lead you down a different path. Just look at it, understand, look at crosstab, look at the trend, what it's saying about you. For example, the Myers-Briggs. If you do Myers-Briggs 20 years ago and then you do it again, you will find that you may have some of the letters interchange. Some of the letters might stay where they are, like the E or the I will always stay more or less where they are. But the scales is what's important. The percentages within the scales is what is important. I'll share a story with you. Many, many years ago, I think it was in 2008, 2009. I was working with a company for 11, 12 years, and they closed down in the 2008 period. So I was job searching. And I went for a job and did well in the first interview. And afterwards, I went and I can't remember which one. It was a Korn Ferry I did, or predictive. And they gave me this assessment myself. I went and did this test, and it told me a lot about things. I researched the company and I saw the values of the company, and now I'm trying to target the company. So I did well in the first interview. When I went to the second interview, I decided that I'm going to align myself, because I needed this job. I'm going to align myself into this thing that I think that they might need. And then the recruiter called me after. She said, "Desmond, what did you do?" I said, "I don't know. I mean, I aligned myself." She said, "No, they were looking for what you are, not what you think they need." And so that was a very early lesson that I learned. Be very careful with these tests. And I talk about authenticity. Who you are and what you are is what sometimes they need at that point in time for that company. And in any case, it was going to show up eventually. Here is the other exercise you can do, which is the step 2, and it should be done. Seek honest opinions from others. Again, you're focusing on what is the single greatest value that I provide. I see in the chat people say, "Yes, I agree, but that's for another type of improvement." This is specifically developing a brand, and you want to know what is your value, and based on the value that you have, how can you capture that and make that part of your brand? So what is the single greatest value that I provide? Record and then tabulate these responses. What are the responses that you're getting? Be honest with the response. And now, sometimes even if you ask for this, you're going to get negative responses. But keep trying. Change the type of questions you ask. Maybe use closed or open-ended. But do not get upset. Someone was doing this exercise once, and they asked me, say, "Desmond, I know you professionally. Where do you think in my interaction that I can improve?" Just wow, that was like the opening a floodgate, right? It's really opening up a can of worms. And, I was very factual. I was very sensitive about it, but they were not happy. And instead of that, they kept calling me and upselling themselves because I really didn't need that. I don't need you to sell who you are to me. So these are some of the dangers. Seek honest opinions from others. Now, as good quality professionals, compile, analyze, and understand. Look for affinity. Do an affinity diagram. Sort, identify your common themes. Categorize, put categories for each. And don't change the writer's words or soften it. This is about you and the discovery. So, you put driving curiosity, put as a category. What it is about you. You like to strive to learn. So you compile, you analyze, and you understand. And then from that, draw some conclusions. Review, rank in order. You can use an XY grid, and you could say dominance versus importance. And you can look at it and say, well, okay, this one here is strong, but this is not important. This one is important, but this one is not dominant. And at the end of this process, you will know what others value about you. And you may be surprised what others value about you. And this is what the difference is here. When I say you should ask for positive feedback. When I did this for myself, what I thought that people valued because you're a quality engineer and you know a lot of statistics and you know this and that, people really didn't value that. What they valued was I can be there, I can support them, my friendliness, my ability to problem solve. Those were the things that they value. My approachability, the fact that they can come to me and not feel after the interaction that less of a person. Those were the things they value. And I'm going, wow, I thought people would value my academia, they would value my quality engineering expertise, but they didn't. This is what they value. The next step is going out there and now now you understand who you are, get a better understanding of who you are. You need to seek help to understand what works or what the market is asking for, what is needed, what are valued in the workplace today. We have Daniel Goleman, he talks about emotional EQ, emotional intelligence versus intelligence quotient, IQ. EQ, is EQ more important than IQ, or is it complementary, or it should be just EQ alone? You need to understand what it is. Understand what is leadership versus management, interpersonal and interpersonal relationships, how you are in your social circle, how you are in the workplace, multitasking versus focused work. Years ago, everybody used to put on a resume as multitasking. But do you really want to hire somebody who does multitasking and gets nothing done? Or you want focused work or the ability to do focused work? These are things you need to think about. Innovation and creativity. And then, of course, industry specific, what it is you're looking for. And of course, the last one here is your specialization and audit. For example, not so long ago on LinkedIn Answers, someone wrote, I am a quality inspector for the last 5 years. What do I need to become a quality manager? And, what do I need? What courses do I need? Why am I not being promoted here after 5 years? And this is a question the person was asking. So they need to understand what is their brand, who they are, what are they projecting, and are they really a manager? A person could come 1 year into the job and become a manager because it is who they are and it's how they have been able to brand themselves. So this is the difference when we look at personal branding. Intrapersonal means across different groups, across different cultural, ethnic groups, for example. Interpersonal would be within your same setting. Intrapersonal is across different groups. How do you interact with that? So then we're going to go back to like when we talk about Six Sigma here, we look at current state and future state. Brand applicability. What is your brand? Now you know your brand, who you are, your current brand, and what is required. And now it comes down to the point is you need to, can you change yourself? You guys said yes, you can change yourself. And therefore, change your paradigms, change yourself. And now you have a new paradigm ahead. And these changes, if made, now you can create your brand. And here is a little thing, but everybody is, agreed that we can change yourself. But I just want to caution you on this. In 1960, it's 1237. In 1960, Maxwell Maltz, he wrote this book about psycho-cybernetics called Self-Image. Sold over 30 million copies. This was a doctor, he was a plastic surgeon. And what he did, he observed the time it takes for patients to accept change. Like you had a nose job, an amputated limb, you have a ghost arm left there, and you think you still have your arm. And he looked at it and he did some correlation, and he said, wow, it takes 21 days for people to adapt and change. And then he started to look at his life and he figured out, wow, it's 21 days. And then this thing became a cliche, and people like Zig Ziglar and Tony Robbins, you will hear them talking about it takes 21 days to change a habit. Well, later studies and current studies show that it takes more than that. It takes sometimes up to between 66 to 245 days, and the average now, the range is between 18 to 254 days. In order for you to change, it needs consistency. You need to work at it to achieve your goal. And so these two visuals, we talk about small steps and we talk about continual improvement. Why am I saying continual improvement and not continuous improvement? Continual improvement is building upon that which you have already obtained. And this is why it's used in the ISO jargon now. I'm not going to debate it. What I need you to think of is the ripple effect. You need to think of the ripple effect. If you put a pebble in the water, it starts a ripple effect that's going to have long-lasting changes. I see in the chat, and of course, everyone is different. I'm not going to be controversial about it. Of course, an introverted person can be a manager. It doesn't matter. It's your brand. It's what value. What is your value proposition? You do not have to be an extrovert to be a manager. This is different. It's just about understanding yourself, what is your value proposition, and is your value proposition matching what is required? What is your brand? Do not go somewhere where your brand is not congruent with who you are. And do not create a brand that is not congruent with who you are. And then in the final stage now, we talk about creating that vision. Create the vision of what you want to be, really. Make sure it's aligned to who you are. It has to be aligned. Make sure there's congruence, who you are and what you're branding as. Create that value proposition. What is my value that I can give? Am I a nurturer? Am I a leader? Am I a teacher? Can I help others? What is it? What value can I give? And then you need to walk the talk. You see, you can have a vision, but a vision without action is a daydream. And an action without any vision becomes a nightmare. You need to jump like the goldfish jumping out into that bowl. You need to do that. So take action. Build your brand. All of us have egos. All of us get, tainted when somebody gives us a feedback. But you need to understand that in building your brand, choose confidence. Be confident. That is the middle ground between humility and arrogance. Choose authenticity. Again, I keep stressing authenticity. It builds trust, whereas hype destroys the brand. Choose expertise. Do not present your opinions as expertise. And again, for me, I'm saying I am giving you my experiential learning, and it is my opinions. I am not a psychologist. I've not done extensive study in this area. And this is a learning continuum, and it will be way into another 2 or 3 decades for me. I will continue to learn as I continue to grow. So I am not presenting this as an expert. A very good book to read is The Artist's Way. It talks about journaling. It talks about it's written by Julie Cameron. You should look at the book and read it. It's how to get back in touch with your creativity. Step number 8. Now you need to communicate that brand. Effectively communicate it across all channels. All that you are, all that you do, you need to be consistent and you need to build trust. Recently, I've seen some emails where some persons are going into ChatGPT and they ask ChatGPT, write me an email. And then the email is sent. I say, wow, as soon as that comes across my desk, I look at the email. I know right away because I've interacted with those persons in meetings. I know those persons. That's not their brand. But in the email, they're using persuasive style of writing. They're doing this very convincing, but that's not who they are. So whatever you are, you need to effectively communicate it in all that you do, whether you're on social media, whether you're in social situations, whether you're at work. This is your brand and you're going to communicate it and you need to build trust. And, way back when somebody once gave me a wake-up call, it says, well, you also have to think about it. Do you attract things or do you repel them? Is your brand attracting things to you or is it repelling? It's good to your brand. And if your brand is not applicable, then you need to change that brand. Are you a porcupine where you're repelling things or are you a Velcro where you are attracting things? And when you communicate your brand, if you go into major high positions within companies at executive levels, they take you out to lunch. Do you know why they take you out to lunch? Why? What they observe? They look at the interaction with the waiters. They look at everything that you do in that social setting. It's because if you are who you are, you will communicate your brand consistently. And so I'm getting up to 12:43. Like I said, I really like to be on time. And so in conclusion, just like struggling on that cliff, it requires determination to maintain your brand. Like I said, it's been over 2.5 decades and I work on it and I keep working at it and I slip and fall sometimes and it's easy to come tumbling. But you have to be persistent. This is a journey and it is achievable. It is achievable. Do not think that it's like this old Greek tale of Sisyphus, get up in the morning, roll his stone up the hill because he was cursed to do that for the eternity. And at the end of the day, the stone rolls right back down. And then he starts doing it again. And that's the story of Sisyphus for those of you who know the Greek mythology. So it is achievable. And you can use everything you do or you have learned. You can set smart goals. You can do the goal setting. You can look at what it is you have achieved, how you can achieve it as you move on in life. So some of the takeaways that I would suggest that you can take from this brief interaction that I had with you today is that personal brand is important. It is who you are. Start from there, who you are. Self-awareness is most important. Know thyself. Your brand will open up opportunities. Is your brand working for you? Or do you need to change your brand? What brand is needed for your profession or what you like? Understand that diversity is important. Every one of us is unique. We're not made from the same cookie cutter. Do not try to be something that you're not. Make your vision, have your vision, align your brand to who you are. It is inside out, not outside in. Each of us is different, and no brand is the perfect brand. What you need to do is leverage that brand for success and communicate it through all channels. Walk the talk. And so, as I reflect back through the ages, it's nothing new. We go back to Aristotle. He talks about knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. So over the last century, Carl Jung, who said, who looks outside dreams, and who looks inside awakes. And most recently, Daniel Goleman, if your emotional abilities are in hand, but if you don't have self-awareness, and you cannot manage distressing emotions, and you can't have empathy and effective relationships, regardless of how smart you are, you're not going to get very far. And, I want to leave you with two things from Stephen Covey as well. Stephen Covey talks about beginning with the end in mind when he talks about a vision. And so this is what this is about, beginning with the end in mind, where you want to be and what is needed. And then the other part of Covey is the abundance mentality. Very good concept. There is enough for each one of us in this world today. There are enough jobs. We do not have to cookie cutter ourselves. Each one of us are unique, and we have our roles in teams. We have a role in society, and we can contribute. And therefore, your brand is that unique brand that leaves that memorable, distinctive feeling in the interaction with someone else. Remember, when you're interacting with someone, it's never about you. It's about how that person feels after the interaction. And that's what I want to leave you with here today. As I said, I'm not an expert. I tried to share with you some of the things. I don't have enough time to talk my whole life story, obviously, Mike. So this is what I want to leave you with. And thank you very much. It's 12:48, right on time, 2 minutes. And I was going to go back to this question here at a later point, but I didn't. So that's it for me. Any questions? Any comments?
Excellent presentation, Desmond. Thank you for sharing that. Any questions that comes from the audience?
Yeah, you can open the mic if they have. They can put their hands up, and you can open the mic if they want. We got about 10
Or
minutes.
you can raise a hand. Simon, go ahead, please.
Hi, good afternoon. Great presentation. Thank you very much. In cases where you work hard to build a brand, but for whatever reason that brand is damaged, so how do you rebuild the brand?
Well, I would put it this way and say the brand is damaged. I mean, it's been iterative. Hi, Roy Green. I see Roy Green, my old friend, is here. It's more of this continuous journey, right? And success is how you define it. Success is how you define it, and you have to move on. You have to move on. You have to, we are not infallible, right? We will all make mistakes. We'll stumble and fall. We got to get up and go again. That's your paradigm. You got to keep at it. You have to live in the present and be persistent. I'm not going to share my stories here, but I've had my fair share of tragedies. I've had my fair share of failures, and I kept at it. I kept moving on and on and on. And this presentation was about branding, and I do understand what you're saying, but stop and think about it. It's lessons learned, right? What can you do differently? How can you change it? It's again, it has to be who you are. And if I may venture to say without being critical, if your brand failed, it means that maybe it wasn't authentic in the first place. It something else showed up, right? The real you showed up.
Great. As a kind of, I mentioned, I saw a couple comments here, just kind of what is important. We are going to have these webinars, but as well, we will have a portion which is related to mentoring that Chaitanya is leading. So it's very important for everybody to have a coach, to have a mentor in their life, because there is a tool called Johari window. There is a lot of things that we are not aware about ourselves. And it's very important from creation of a brand is important to have a positive, but it's very important to understand really your roadblocks related to your development. And they're usually within us. Those roadblocks are not training, they're not really organization, it's not career. And proper coaching and mentoring can help you to discover roadblocks that we impose to ourselves. And in my webinar, I'll be talking about that a little bit, but it's very important. I encourage you to reach to Chaitanya as well, kind of regarding mentoring, if you're interested to get mentoring.
Yeah, Mike, I mean, I agree with you. I really wanted to keep within the scope of what I was doing and not get out of it because there's so many other dimensions. But when I look at branding, it's for you to lift yourself to really find what that value proposition is. In terms of how to develop it, there's lots of things you can do to develop that, but it has to be true. It really has to be authentic. It has to be authentic, and that's why to the question of the previous person, they said that I was I was failing, but yeah, maybe there were certain things there, and that's where the roadblock. There's Simon Ferreras with his hand up. You want to open his mic?
We have
Yes.
another question in a kind of okay, Simon, go ahead.
Yeah, I think the presenter want to ask me something.
No, I see you had your hands up. That's why.
Oh, no, I just stayed on. Sorry, my apologies. I'll
Okay.
put it down.
So
My
there
bad.
is another question from Al. Great presentation. Can you please connect for us personal branding and life purpose as it relates to overall value proposition of the person?
Yeah, well, I'm not Tony Robbins or Zig Ziglar here, but I would have been pumped and have been on stage and really have you going. But really, I think as we move on in life, we reflect, and certain things become important, and certain things become less important, and it's in your life stage as you go on, and you fast realize that as you grow and as you end up there, that what is most important, what is most important to you. And so your brand, it doesn't only work for jobs. Like I said, it's through all channels. I think it helps you. It helps you as an individual to really understand who you are and understand your interactions with people. So this in terms of your life, I think it has to be congruent, because when you change, you change. You look at every little thing. And here, don't try to be who you're not. That's the most important thing. I mean, I'm not going to go through my personal life cycle, but there were times when, yeah, I said, okay, maybe I can be this, maybe I can do that. But there are certain things that came in my value proposition when I did this many, many years ago. It's about inquisitiveness, creativity. These are some of the traits that I have. And this is why, innovation, these are things that I always go. And, I always reach out to help people. And I mean, I'm not talking about myself here, but many people who know me, and some of them in the call, they can tell you that they feel very free and comfortable in calling me and discussing anything they want. And I would not criticize them. If they're out of a job, I would talk to them. I would give them some help. I would stay with them. I would respond. These are the things that make people want to come. And of course, have a big smile. I go to the supermarket, I smile. When I was working from home, well, I'm working from home, during the pandemic and before the pandemic since 2019. And I would go after being locked up and cooped up, and I would sit in the mall. I would say, oh my God, here is people. Look, I'm seeing people. And yeah, you smile, and you see little children smiling with you. You see adults walking by smiling with you. It gives you that good feeling, right? So that's part of who you become. So most importantly, I think that Mike has a lot of books there. He can tell you about books. But yeah, you need to go back to basics. There's nothing like a good book in a deck chair and a cool evening in the summer reading. There's nothing like that. It's good. Save your
Good.
eyes.
Excellent. Thank you, Desmond. Just kind of, Zvezdan put a nice comment. It's not about not failing. It's about what you do after you fail. And we
Yeah.
have a kind of time for one more question. And Desmond, can you share your perspectives on personal branding in a virtual environment? It's from Delpham.
Yeah, personal branding in a virtual environment. So I have also explored that because like I said, from 2019 to now, I've been working from home, and how do you interact in a virtual environment is very important. So you have to be well prepared. I do believe in full audio visual, and your brand, the same thing that you will do in a real meeting, you have to start imagining that third dimension. So when you look at people, you still look at their body language, you still don't take yourself that seriously, and you try to make sure that the meeting stays on track. You try to do exactly what you would be doing in a real meeting. And that's sometimes very challenging and very difficult. But yes, it is possible. I spent one entire year as chair of Toronto section, and I was delivering webinars and delivering section meetings. And that really, really helped me on WebEx. And myself and Nikolai were there at that time. And yeah, we actually did a conference and with Montreal as well. So we did a lot of work there in the virtual. We had the breakout meetings. We had what do you call it? Kitchen chat, they call it, when we did it with Ruth. So we had all these things. And last thing I need to do, Mike, I know time is 12:57. We need to, as part of the American Society of Equality, to pitch the American Society of Equality. There are many people here who are not members of the society, and we encourage you to join it. What is the American Society of Equality? It's been over 75 years plus organization based in the United States of America, and our second largest section is in Canada, which is the Toronto section. We have approximately between 12 to 1,300 members, and we have long-standing members in the Toronto section. There are many different sections geographically that are close to wherever you are in Canada that you can join. There is Montreal, there's Toronto. Now these are big sections: Windsor, Hamilton, and many Ottawa Valley, and all the DRDs that you see. Mike is one, myself, Chaitanya. We all help support some of those sections. And what is important about joining the society? You can interact, you can have mentors, you can have feeling of camaraderie, you can reach out, you can touch base one-on-one. I've been a member for, like Mike said, I mean, without dating myself, so talk about 27 years or so. And yeah, we've got Roy Green here, who's a member for 40 years plus. So it's really something good, and it allows you to develop what you want, develop your brand, and really interact with professionals, and hopefully it is volunteer work. Just remember, like myself and Mike and all of us, we are all volunteers, but we do this. And there is also Dwayne Dwyer here on the call as well. So these guys are all Anthony Dwyer. Sorry, I've been thinking of Dwayne Dwyer. So I mean, there's all of us here. And why do we volunteer? Why do we do it? And once you start volunteering, you realize that becomes part of your brand too. It changes who you are. And I'll leave it at that, Mike. It's 12:59. If you want to pitch anything else with ASQ, feel free to do so. So
Yeah.
join. That's the thing.
Excellent. Thank you, Desmond, for a great presentation. Thank you, everybody, for participation. And we have a Nikolai here from Toronto section, and the Toronto section is going in June, I think, based on a chat from Chaitanya, going to run a mentor session in June. Nikolai, do you want to reflect on that? What's the plan? If you're online? Okay, probably microphone doesn't work. So be kind of ready to get some information about this mentor section in June. Anyhow, thank you. This session is recorded, so we are going to make a recording available. And Desmond, I'm not sure kind of if you're willing to share presentation. We'll be talking about how we're going to share all this kind of recording and presentation. But
I can do a PDF. Yeah, I can do a PDF modified version. It's not a proprietary in here. I just don't want people to banter about, because I mean, like I said, it's my experiential learning. Could be very controversial, and
okay.
just,
So if you shoot me, kind of, I'll send with another thing. You should get the certification kind of points, I'll send you email after the kind of probably kind of tomorrow. And if Desmond send me presentation, I'm going to attach that,
I'll
and
put
we'll
it in
see.
the, Mike, I'll put it in the shared folder.
Yeah, and the last thing is kind of we'll talk and see kind of if we're going to have some channel. Desmond, I know that Desmond has his YouTube channel, so he can post there, or kind of we can have a Canadian kind of channel. We're still kind of developing this. Great presentation. I enjoy kind of. I hope that everybody enjoy and have a great day. Bye bye.
Mike,
Yes.
please, for the members who are here, you know, you can Google my name and feel free to connect on LinkedIn or anything. You know, I'm always there to help any, whether you're a member of society or not, and you'll find information about me and feel free to connect.
Sure.
Thank
You
you
can
very
put
much, guys, for attending, and it's been my pleasure. Thank you. Bye.
special hi to Roy. Nice to see
Yeah,
you.
Roy is there. Roy is our long